approve the minutes from the last meeting, our May 14th meeting. Anybody got anything to say? I'm good with them. You good with them? I'll make the motion, we approve them. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I still need copies from the last couple of meetings, minutes.
What's that now?
I need a copy of the minutes, what we signed from the last couple. Okay, the first thing on our list is loan from the general fund to the township assistance repaid.
Okay, as you know, we borrowed, 18.
Larry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody hear me now? Okay, as the board knows, we borrowed $18,000 from the general fund last year because the township assistance was short. And by Indiana code, I had to have that money paid back by June of this year, and it has been paid back.
And how did you pay that back? Will you tell them how you paid it back?
We transferred it from we got settlement money in from the state, and we took there was enough money in the settlement money to pay it back.
Can I ask you how much we have in township assistance now then?
Right
Have you,
now?
have you
Yeah.
paid that back?
Yeah, let's just tell you right there.
Well,
The people want to know
yeah,
probably.
tell them.
Why don't you?
Currently, township assistance has $8,550 in it. When we started out at the beginning of the year, we were in the hole $7,583. We had an awful lot of people that needed help last year. This year, it's going the other way, and we've only spent about $6,000 for the first 6 months of this year. But we've got receipts in of $41,174. We had disbursements of $25,039, leaving us with a balance of $8,550. Now, in December, when we get our second settlement, we will also have probably somewhere around $30,000 coming into township assistance at that time.
30 more?
Yeah.
Our whole budget for the year is 25.
Well, I'd have to I can double check it for you, but we've got
Wow.
quite a bit more money coming in December. Because they only send approximately half of the money.
Yeah, well, half of 25 would only be about 12.5.
I can give you the exact numbers later. Okay,
Were you good on that then, or you got anything else on?
I'm good on that. If you guys are good on it, I'm good on it.
You good?
I'm good.
You got any questions?
Okay.
Okay, the next we'll discuss the 2024 compliance audit by the State Board of Accounts and the cost of the audit.
This is I'm having them out the cost of the audit. The cost of the audit was, and this is, it's been 5 years since we've had an audit. It wasn't called because anything had been done wrong. It was just time. And we had, it cost us $6,887. And that money will be taken out of our next settlement money. We don't have the chance to write them a check. They just take it.
Yeah, it's a deal that just comes out of the general.
You guys had a chance to read the field report that
Yeah.
we got. Okay. The audit actually came out very well. When I took over office, some of the numbers weren't quite so good. I got the numbers straightened out, and the auditor had no problem with the financials. She did have about 4 procedure things that I wasn't even aware of that I had to do, and I knew I would probably get caught on that. But those 4 policies are being addressed right now, and I'll have them taken care of here within the next couple of months. You guys have any more questions on the audit?
No.
Oh, by the way, the last words the auditor said as she left the building is that I had done a fine job, and that meant an awful lot to me.
Okay. Now we'll go to the June 2020, 2024 settlement receipts.
Okay, what I've got here is it's what they call a Form 22 Certificate of Tax Distribution. And it's dated May 20th of this year. And this shows the amount of money that we received from the county treasurer. The general fund, we received $5,901. Have you guys got all this paperwork?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it, Andrew?
Township assistants received 6,374. I guess I was off a little bit. Township fire, 10,613. Township youth fund, $811. And township fire department, $32,346. I'd like to mention that. Go ahead.
That was fire debt was 32,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, fire debt, 32,000. Fire Q fund, okay, fire department didn't have anything on here, did they?
Yeah, they did. Township fire was 64,000.
Okay, that's what I was.
I think you were looking at 2023 numbers, Larry.
Yeah, I did, you're exactly right. Okay, go back to 20. I kept these up for comparison. Okay, 2024, let's start over. Forget everything I told you. This is just 6 months settlement. Like I say, we'll get another settlement in December. Township general fund, we got 5,901. Township assistance, 23,115. Township fire, 67,769. Township Q fund, $886.24. Now that Q fund is what we use to save money to buy our next fire trucks. Township fire equipment debt, $32,384. So we got a total of $129,956 for 2024. I just want to mention there has been a concern that the township fire was not going to have enough money to come up with their 50% of the budget. And we have, I found out there was a Form 1065 that should have been turned in the last couple of years. Once the population of Austin census increased enough, it qualified us for more fire fund money. And this year, the total that we're going to receive will be 109,000. the last number of years, we were receiving 9,000 and something. So this is going to allow us to pay our 50%.
I thought it was 99,000, but
Well, it is, but there's other monies that get added into it. The total would be 109,000. Any more questions on that?
well, let me have that mic a minute. Actually, in the township fire, we could only raise $15,000. And that was because of a max levy. That's the most we could raise. So we had been supporting township fire by there's little pieces of your budget called like excise tax and little pieces that is not actually your property tax that you pay, but it's little pieces that come in. And we had been applying all that to township fire to get up to where we could fund our budget for 45,000 that we had last year. Now, Larry did have a hearing and we was able to raise our max levy. And we got it up to where we can raise 99,000. But it was the max levy that was capping what we could raise for fire.
That's true. But if the proper paperwork would have been filled out, that 109,000 could have probably been raised at least a year or two ago because of the census increase. Okay, any more questions on that? Okay,
Now it's the remonstrance denial.
okay, could I get a show of hands of how many people actually live in Jefferson Township outside of Austin? Pretty good share. Okay, how many live in Austin? Maybe 10, okay. You 10 are very fortunate. This meeting about the township tanker does not affect you. It will not raise your property taxes 1 cent. But the rest of you who are in Jefferson Township outside Austin, this meeting's really about you guys here. And I want you to be able to understand how this is going to work. And I'd be more than glad to stay after if you've got any questions. But there was this remonstrance that was filed. 50 people signed it, which is, we have to have 25, but 50 signed it, which was a good showing. I'm glad there's that many people interested in what we're doing. But the remonstrance was denied. The DLGF denied it because when they look at this remonstrance, they look at all the paperwork that had been filed by me. And it's quite a process. I started in February and worked through April, making sure all the T's were crossed and I's were dotted. And so when the DLGF removed or reviewed my paperwork, they said everything had been completely correct. And the remonstrance stated that the people in Jefferson Township, 50 people in Jefferson, I'm drying up. 50 people signed a remonstrance and they did not want the trustee to raise the acute fire fund up to 0.033, which would increase on a $100,000 home, it would increase your taxes $33.30 annually. Now, to go a little farther into that, I have I've got some paperwork here that I would like to pass out. And there may not be enough copies, but what I've got here, it shows the letter from the DLGF showing the denial and what was denied. And then also it has got, when we had a board meeting back in February 21st, the board passed this 0.033 increase. Now, for David and Tim's defense, Tim was in Florida, and And David voted against the raising of taxes. And our secretary, AJ, voted in favor of it. And as a tiebreaker, I voted in favor of it.
Can I speak on that a little bit?
Yeah.
We had not had a resolution to where I could vote virtual. We were supposed to have one tonight. I don't know if Larry got it from the attorney yet, but anyhow, I disagreed with raising that Cume Fire. And basically, right now, we're paying $79,000 a year for fire protection, but we also have a $54,000 loan on a fire truck. And Larry wants to raise Cume Fire, which would raise another $69,000 next year, and we'll have them other two payments also. But if he would have waited 1 year, that 54,000 would be off. And then if he raised it, he'd keep the taxes a little more even. And he thinks he's going to save a lot of money on interest by having that $69,000 extra, but it's you people that are going to pay that $69,000 in extra to raise him interest for that 1 year. And that's why I tried to talk Larry out of it. And I don't know what AJ's reason was voting for it, but basically we're spending $133,000 right now for our fire debt and our fire protection. We're going to be paying over $200,000 next year if this Cume Fire is put on. Then the following year we'll drop down $54,000 because the engine will be paid off. And all I wanted him to do was just wait 1 year till we get that paid off. But AJ voted for it, and Larry, and I couldn't vote, so that's why it was voted in.
So at that time, we actually didn't raise taxes. All that is it's the tax levy. It does not mean we're raising taxes at this point. That is done at budget time. So all we did at that point was go from 0.007 up to 0.333. It allows us to go up to raise more money for next year if we decide to do that. That is not done yet. That is done at budget time. So we still got another month or two before we start thinking about budget.
September's the first year.
Okay. So at that point, when we start talking about the budget is when we decide whether we go the full 69,000 or we could go less amount. So at that point will determine if taxes get raised or not. So all we did at the February meeting was be able to increase the tax rate if we needed to. So we have not raised taxes at this point yet. That's done at budget time.
But it's to get to where we are right now, where the board has the option to raise it. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure I understood you right. You're talking about the increase could be $33 per 100,000 is the increase you're talking?
It could be, correct.
Correct.
Okay. Per year.
You can still wait until the fire truck is paid off.
Correct. We could raise it as much as up to that 33 if we wanted to, but not more than that 33. Yes.
I have my property tax right here, and my Jefferson Township tax went up 104%, payable in April and November. So you're proposing another tax hike on top of this?
That's in the discussions, because like I said, nothing's been talked about yet, because we haven't got a budget yet, and it's all determined on what the fire department's budget is and what we do from there. Because there's a lot of factors that go into a budget. So we increased township assistance last year. What else did we increased
gave the
fire budget. We increased that. So that's why it increased as much as it did, because they have not increased that for years. And now we're running into situations where we hit that fence and we had that major jump.
A good portion of your taxes went up because of assessed value. It wasn't all because of the property taxes going up. Assessed value costs a lot of those.
Hold on, Larry, got another question. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Fred, question.
Larry, do you live outside of Austin or do you live inside the city?
I'm in Austin.
So you voted on a tax rise that does not affect you. How could you honestly do that?
I'm on the board.
I understand that legally you can do it, but how can you look at yourself in the mirror and raise our taxes when you're not going to pay it?
If we get a little farther into this, I think you'll understand why I'm proposing what I'm proposing. Just give me a little time to explain. Okay, this handout I got, like I said, the first page was the denial. The second page here, this option one supporting numbers. Basically what this does.
Larry, do we get a copy?
Which one is it?
What are you talking about
What,
now?
you didn't email, say,
Somebody break loose with the copy. Page 8, you have one.
Is it this?
That's.
I got the front page, that's all we got. That's all we got was the front page.
You may not have gotten it.
thank you, Mike, thank you.
Benny? Mr. Maker? Yep. I'd like to have, the reason we're wanting to raise this money, the reason we want to raise this money is we need a tanker. And I would like to have Ben explain why we need a new tanker.
So, just a quick update. These trucks are parked strategically for a reason, just so you can see who owns what. Jefferson Township owns those 3 trucks right over there, the engine, the 2 tankers. The town of Austin owns this engine, the grass truck. There's another bigger truck, the squad, and then Wells County owns the rescue. The Austin is in charge of overseeing that. We take care of the maintenance, that kind of stuff. So those 2 tankers there, the red one is what I would consider our good one. It's a 1993, so it's 31 years old. Actually, this month is the birth month of that. 31 years old. Over the last couple of years, it's caused, it's a relay of some sort. It's been around a $4,500 fix every time that we've gotten that fixed. If you go out, I would be more than happy to show you after the fact. It's getting old. The valves are old. We've replaced several of the valves. We've replaced the discharges, that kind of stuff. At 31 years, it's going to get truck. The other one is actually a 1997, so only 27 years old. That one has 1,500 gallons of water. The newer, or the better one has 2,000 gallons of water. The 1997 has 1,500 gallons of water. The pump on it is a kind of a junk PTO pump, aftermarket pump. It broke probably 8 or 9 years ago. To be honest, we don't have the manpower on a typical run that it even responds by the time we take the engines and that tanker. So, in my opinion, it wasn't worth fixing, so it just is a gravity drop only. It just drops the water out of the scene, it doesn't pump off. So, with those 2 trucks, just the age and the air issues that we've had with them, it's definitely something that we need to look at. Replacing one of the other bigger reason what I would like to do is instead of having 2 trucks, total I can carry 3,500 gallons of water out to a county fire. To me, it makes sense, especially with our staffing shortages that we have, to get one larger tanker. So one tanker with more water on it. That way, we only have to have 1 firefighter able to take 3,000 gallons of water compared to needing 2 firefighters that I don't have to take 3,500 gallons of water. If we replace both of those with a newer truck, then we're gonna save on maintenance throughout the year, tires, wear and tear, fuel. All. Once you start condensing, you're gonna save more money. And that's what I've been trying to do with as a whole, is start condensing down. The fleet that we have is very nice, but it was kind of built back when we actually had a lot of volunteers, and we don't have the volunteers. So we need to start condensing our equipment so we can handle more stuff with less people. That's kind of where we're at.
Thanks, Ben. I want question about looking in the mirror. I wouldn't have had them to decide and vote if all our members would have attended that meeting in person. I was put in the role by Indiana code that I was the deciding vote. That's the only reason I was the vote. I had to vote.
I understand the legalities of it. I'm saying it seems kind of dishonest.
It's,
If you're a commissioner, you have to live in the district you represent. If you're a senator, you have to live in the district you represent.
Well, Larry does, question guys, Larry does live in Jefferson Township. Sorry to say, Ossian is in Jefferson Township. I get your point where he pays Ossian taxes for the fire trucks while he does not pay Jefferson Township taxes. His tax rate for fire department is way higher than anybody in Jefferson Township.
Irrelevant for this.
It kind of is, but, all right, let's move forward. All right, let's keep going.
Okay. Okay, back to that option one supporting number. Those first 6 lines on there that are not highlighted, if you add those together, that comes up with that first yellow line there, $207,414. That's what, if we go with option one, that's the amount of money that the trustee will have available to buy the new tanker. And if you go to the next line, that's going to be the $192,586. That's the amount of money that I would have to borrow. Now, these are all estimates. I don't know what the interest rate's going to be. I don't know how much money we're making on savings. These are just ballpark, but they're going to be fairly accurate. And so the amount of money that we're going to need to borrow for that new tanker on option one is, if you take the $400,000 that we've estimated could be the price, take away the $207,000 that we will have in our Q fund at that time, and that's where we come up with $192,000 we're going to borrow. Now, to do that, on that third yellow line there, you are currently paying 0.0254. Those of you in Jefferson Township outside of Austin are paying 0.0254 or $25.40 on a $100,000 home. Okay, we go to the next line, and what I would like to do in January 2025, I would like to raise that rate to 0.0333 or $33.30 on a $100,000 home. Now, if you go to the last highlighted line, that total there, if you take the 0.0254 and 0.033, your taxes for 1 year, for the year 2025, will jump up to $58.70 on a $100,000 home. But if you go to the next line, it's not highlighted. In the following year, that Aaron Spock's HMA is going to be dropped off because it's going to be paid for by then. So then the total rate in 2026 will drop back down to 0.0333, which would be $33.30 on a $100,000 home. Now, with option one, there's option one and then there's option three here. We will go into option three here in a little bit. But right now, option one versus option three, we will save, Jefferson Township will save $33,154 on interest. And the cost of the equipment, as Ben can attest, continues to rise. Ben, how much would you say this 400, if we're just estimating 400,000, how much do you think this 400,000 truck has went up in the last 2 or 3 years?
The average truck has been roughly 50%. I can give you an example. So 602 we bought in 2019. What was that one? 350? 425?
450. 450.
450, thanks. The rescue we bought in 2022, that we got as a demo, for 535 with equipment, but to build it was 750.
That's the one the county bought.
Correct, was 750. The one, I know Southwest is buying one, it was just shy of $1 million right now. So that's what the price is going up.
These prices are going up extremely fast. Originally, when I took office, Ben said, Larry, the first thing he told me, he said, Ben, Larry, I need to have a new tanker by 2028. So I crunched the numbers and I found out that with the increase that we're getting in fire trucks all the time, I thought it would be better if we bought this truck a little quicker. So all these numbers that I have crunched are based on buying a new tanker, a used tanker more than likely, at the end of 2025. And so with running these numbers that I've got here, and if we raise the taxes to 0.033 for 1.033 more than what the rate is right now, we will be able to collect $63,500 annually until the tanker's paid off. Right now, we have been collecting about 1,374, somewhere in that range, per year, which obviously is not enough to buy a $400,000 fire tank. Okay, if you go to that next page, this is the schedule that I would like to follow to do what I have just asked you to review. We're going to pay the current fire equipment debt loan off in December 31st of 2025. January 1st of 2025, that's when I want to raise the new fire rate to 0.033 or $33 per 100,000. This will raise $63,500 annually for the fire cumulative fund. The fire cumulative fund is where this fire truck payments will be made out of. Right now, the current fire truck we've got is being paid for out of the debt equipment fund. Okay, C there, the Jefferson Township taxpayers outside the incorporated area of Austin are currently paying 0.0254 or $25.40 per year on a $100,000 home. This would increase taxes on a $100,000 home from 0.0254 to 0.057 for the year 2025, up to $58.70 for a $100,000 home. But that's only for 1 year. The following year, it'll drop down to 0.0333. Okay, on D, December 31st, 2025, the current current fire truck loan will be paid off. The fire equipment debt will go from 0.0254 to 0 for 2026. The cumulative fire fund rate will remain at 0.0333 until the tanker is paid off in September of 2029. I plan on having that paid off in 3 years and 9 months. This rate will just raise our taxes. The current rate you got is $25.40. When we go to 2026, we're actually going to only raise your taxes $7.90 more than what you're currently paying right now. Okay, January 1st of 2026, the taxpayers will be paying that 0.033 for $100,000 on $100,000 home, but they will not be paying the 0.0254. Okay, December 31st, 2025, we will have approximately $207,000 in our cumulative fund. We will need to take out a loan for $192,586. And that's the 400,000 minus 207 gives us 192. Okay, just a little explanation down there on I. The fire equipment debt fund and the cumulative fire fund receipts comes from unincorporated Jefferson Township property tax, vehicle excise tax, and commercial excise tax.
I can't follow.
Okay, if we go to the first sheet on option 3 with the yellow line on it. This is assuming the tanker is going to cost $400,000. We don't know. And it's going to be 7%. When I wrote this up, that was the rate of interest at the time. It could be different at that time. Okay, back in February 1st of this year, I took $110,000 out of the Cume Fire Fund and I invested it with Indiana, Trust Indiana. Trust Indiana is a state-supported savings, and they're paying 5.4%. And I checked all the banks, I couldn't touch 5.4%. And this money is liquid. If I gotta buy a fire truck tomorrow, I can buy a fire truck tomorrow. I don't have, it's not locked up like a CD, where you may have to wait a year or something to get it out. Okay, now, this option 3 is basically based on what Tim and David, I believe, support. If you take all those numbers and add them up, and come up with that first yellow line, at that time, I'm only going to have 143,914 saved, because I don't have that 63,500 in that number. And so, for the second yellow line, we're still going to need to borrow 256.86 on this one, because we haven't put as much money down on it. So, the new tanker is 400,000 minus 143,914, which is what we will have available in our fire team fund then. So we are going to have to borrow 256,000. And that gets down to be the key to the whole situation, is we're borrowing $63,500 more than we would with option 1. Okay, dropping down to the next one.
How many years is your loan on option 3?
6 years.
Okay.
The most we can borrow money for is 6 years. And so, I am going to have to raise, if we go with this option, the rate will have to go up, 0.0006 or 60 cents on a $100,000 loan. But basically what this rate is doing is keeping, the future rate the same as what you're paying right now. So, let's go back to that first line underneath the yellow line. That's when we're going to have the Aaron's box paid off. And then, the next line there, I will have to raise taxes up to 0.026 to be able to pay for that loan. So it's going up just minuscule. So the loan has to be paid for in 6 years. So that's why I have to get the rate up to 0.0006 or 0.026 per 100,000. Option 3 will take 6 years to pay off. The total interest on that, $58,265. This is $33,154,000 more than the interest on option 1. And that reason is we're stretching this loan out to 6 years to keep the amount of money that you have to pay annually as low as we can get. But it's up there because we don't have that 63,500 that I want to invest or tax you for in 2025. The current balance on the fire truck that we've got right now is $76,585, and that will be paid off December of 2025. The cost of the equipment continues to rise. The sooner we buy it, the better. When I go to these shows and I talk to these fire departments and people who have bought them, if they're buying a new truck, they have to order these things like 2 years ahead of time, and they don't know what they're gonna pay for it. I think Ben is very judicial when it comes to spending the township's money. He's going to be looking for a used truck, and there's a lot of good used trucks out there on the market. Whether they'll be there in 2026 when we need it, we don't know that. And once again, these numbers are estimates.
Yes.
Okay.
You got a question real quick?
Yeah.
I live outside of the city.
Yes, outside.
So I have a question. I really appreciate your fire department. I want to keep it. I don't want to be separated and be taken on by anybody else, okay? I want to keep it. But my question is this. You're saying that for 2025, our taxes will go up, property taxes, for just 1 year, and then will drop down again in 2026.
You're paying $0.0254 right now, $25.04 on the 100.
Okay,
It will go up $33.30 for that 1 year. Following year, they drop down to $33.30.
okay. So the equipment, our home is probably assessed at around 200,000 now, okay? So if there's a difference of 30.
You should be talking to the auditor about that.
What? Is it? I don't know what it is.
I'm just joking. No, you got a very nice house.
240, well, I just, okay. So if it's $33.30 more,
For 1 year.
100,000,
For 1 year.
you're talking about around $70 for us.
No, $58.70.
Difference.
Well, for $100,000.
Difference.
For $100,000, yeah, if you're talking about a $240,000 house, yeah, you gotta take that.
So why don't I just cut you a check today for that amount of money, because I don't want more taxes. My thing is, once you raise your taxes, it doesn't go down.
That's exactly right. He's speaking for what me and Tim said, but you're exactly right, man. That's why I voted not to raise it, because they never lower your taxes once it's raised. And he can tell you that all he wants. That is, if we needed it, if we were buying a fire truck today and we needed to come up with the extra money, that's one thing. But taxpayers' money, it's your money to spend how you see fit. It's not my job to sit up here and spend your money before I need it.
Right, and I understand what he's the numbers guy, I understand what he's saying, but in all honesty, when you say taxes, you know where I'm coming from. You don't raise taxes and then say, well, we'll lower it when in a year when you don't need it. That's not gonna happen. So let me just write you a check for what you need today, and if somebody can't afford it, I will help them pay their check.
Oh.
I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Why can't we do that? Why not?
You are right. Normally, when taxes are raised, they don't go back down. I can tell you right now that they probably will not go back down because they have been so low in the past that we haven't been able to build up
Did he
any
just try to
fire
say
fund
we
to buy a truck when the time comes. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
But that's different than what you were promising us.
Yeah.
Yes, that's not what you told these people.
If you want to just say it's going to be this way from now on.
Then say it, yes.
I'm being honest with you, because what's going to happen, this isn't going to be the last fire truck that we have to buy.
That's what
We're going to have, and that's why we have to continue to save money, so when the time comes to buy another Jefferson Township fire truck, we've got some money in the bank, so we don't have to borrow so much. Right now, Ben, you know offhand what that, or maybe Luann, you know what, maybe don't want to ask her. How much has the town of Boston got in their fire team fund? I'm thinking it's close to 300,000.
I'll tell you, it is a lot of money and it is up there, but we've been paying on a $450,000 engine. They haven't been paying on a $450,000 engine.
When it's their turn, then they have to pay.
Ben, would you like to address that? We're saving, the town of Boston is saving to buy that next truck they need.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Either option you pick, you still get a truck at the end of this year. You can order one, right?
Well, we're hoping in 2025 we'll buy it.
Regardless of which option you do.
Right.
So to me, it's not worth $33,000.
Well, that's you guys' choice. Who's back in here?
I got one thing to add first, guys, Larry. I got one thing to add.
Okay.
This is all a moot point right now, because the town of Ossian, at the end of December 31st, 2024, this year, the town of Ossian will not support Jefferson Township anymore. So this is all a moot point right now. So no matter what we do right now, and what we do at budget time, it may not make a difference if we do not come up to an agreement with the town of Ossian. We may have to find another source, and it may just raise your taxes more anyways if we had to get somebody else. So what we're discussing right now, it may not even be in discussion come December. It could be a completely different thing. So I'll just put that out there right now. So even if we, because like again, taxes will not go up until we do a budget, decide what that budget is. So we have not decided what a budget is. So we don't know if taxes are going to go up or they're going to stay the same. So like I said, but the biggest thing is come to, I'd say it's a moot point about this option right now, because we may have to start a whole fire department, and our budget may be $700,000 if we have to start a new fire department for Jefferson Township. All right, so
Here, yeah.
So
Let's not speculate.
Right.
Let's not speculate nothing. We will get into that when we move on down the line. Shirley, are you done? You need to say anything else? You got it? Okay. Now there's somebody in the back. Wait, ma'am, do you got something to say? You had your hand up?
Karen, do you have something?
I wanted to let people know that I've been sitting in on these with you working in the office, and the way the tax works is it's going to go up, but when he filed for that increase, the paperwork says it will go back down. It's not an option he has. If the budget is allowable so that they actually add that 33% on top, or that 33 on top of the 25, by law and how that was paperwork was signed in 2026, it's going to go back down. He can't keep it up, you can't keep it up. The state tells us what we're gonna get. And what Larry has been doing is finding out every little nook and cranny in the law to get as much money for this township as possible. That $109,000 was on the table the last 5 years, and nobody touched it. Nobody agreed to do the paperwork, so you need to know that these laws are not like, I'm gonna raise it and you're gonna stay up. No way. It has to go back to 33. Now, right now, the inflation is 7.6% of the government vote. So we have to face the fact that a truck is gonna cost $450. Then and them, when they've been talking, it's gonna go up maybe double. So, and AJ said it right. The budget has to be written before any of this is decided. But he can't keep that rate up. It will come down because that's the law.
I got something to say on that. I'm the only guy in here that was on the board when we bought that engine. I voted on that engine, and we had the option to raise the cume fire, but we couldn't raise it high enough, and that's the same case this time. You cannot raise that cume fire high enough to pay for that truck. So you're going to have cume fire, and you're going to have a loan. And we voted to go with the loan, and the reason we voted to go with the loan, she's a little bit off on that. Cume fire, once you put it on, even after that loan is paid, it keeps collecting. It keeps collecting. So we did not want to strap another board that came in and bought that truck and was using cume fire and a loan, and then they get that thing paid off and they don't realize it, and they're collecting from the taxpayer. They're keep going on collecting. So that's why the board back then, we were going to have them both, and we voted to just go with the loan. So once that truck was paid for, it shut off.
In retrospect, when we look back at that, It looked like a good move at that time. However, the rate at that time was 0.0333, and the board decided to vote to do what Tim wanted to do. If that rate would stay there at 0.0333, we would probably have enough money today to buy that tanker of cash.
It was never 0.033.
Yes, it was. I've got records.
We were collecting $23,000 back then yearly, and our payment was $54,000. So that's why we were going to have them both, and we voted to just go with the loan. So once that truck was paid for, they can decide whether they want to put a Cume Fire on and collect for another truck or get another loan. And so that's why I didn't want to do the Cume Fire rate until that truck was paid for.
Go ahead, Mike. Yeah,
1 year, that truck's gonna be paid for, right?
that's correct.
End of next year, December of next year.
So at the end of next year, if you have any problem with buying another truck,
Yeah.
that's the issue there on that part. I think that those two trucks ought to go, and there's no allowance in any of this, those two trucks aren't worth. That's all I'm talking. The issue between Austin and Jefferson, this fire department has been the holy grail of the community forever. You guys think you're gonna split it up, I think you're gonna be in for one hell of a fight. That's all I gotta say.
We'll discuss the fire agreement when we get to it. That's more of a fire agreement discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we talk about taxes, this, that, whatever, there's a disagreement. For total disclosure, I'm on Preble and Austin. I live out in Austin. And that 400 beds getting you a deal, because we're looking at a tanker, and for a non-Pierce, with personality Pierce, they're up over 500,000, so you're already low. You wait a year, that 400 isn't there, it's already another 100 on it because they're going up that much, what it's worth. But it's all a mute point. We're arguing, say, the 200, or I got a $200,000 house. We're talking about a $70 a year increase for a bid. What's my insurance going to go to when on January 1 at midnight, when I don't have fire coverage? Now, what's my insurance go to? Am I paying $200 more a year, $1,000 more a year? It's on the $77 or $70. It's going to cost me way more. This whole pissing match needs to stop. Truth be told, I don't think the township should own trucks. They should really do it somewhere like Preble does. Do a freaking contract with the fire department. The fire department or the town, whoever, is required to supply you with all the fire coverage, trucks, personnel, everything, and be done. Because having the two pocketbooks is just a big mess. And fighting over who's owns what, this, that, whatever, because it doesn't matter if you have the trucks. If you think you're on start a fire department, $700,000 to start a fire department, yeah, have another zero on that. And oh yeah, where are you gonna get the people? We can't hardly get enough people here. We're short in crowd. We're short everywhere. That's why we're looking to more and more mutual dispatch, because we're short people. You can start it, that's nice, those trucks will sit there, and maybe somebody will drive it out and break. Who's gonna fight the fire? That's just foolishness. And my house burns, you all are responsible.
One of the board members, when we found out that the town of Austin sent us a letter that we weren't going to have fire protection.
Larry, let's finish.
Let's wait till we get down on that. We're on remonstrance denied.
Yes,
We
we're
will
on
discuss
remonstrance,
that,
yes.
but wait till we get down
Wait
to
till we get to it.
termination
It
of
is
that.
on our agenda. We will discuss it.
Let's get back on track here.
Larry, I got one question on this. You sent the article to the paper on this restraint, or on this
Cume Fire.
Cume Fire thing, right? Yeah, why, I want to know what it says right here in the paper, that the citizens were, once the local, or once the auditor got all the names, they were supposed to set a date for a hearing. It states that a public hearing on the proposed Cume Fire Fund before, or it issues its approval, disapproval, or modification thereof. But a date will be fixed, it says. Why was the people not given a a chance to,
That's because the DLGF sent you a letter telling you they had denied the remonstrance.
they didn't send me no letter. No, wait a minute, they didn't send me no letter. They didn't send me a letter. They didn't send me a
You
letter.
need to talk out, that's the rules of the DLGF. If they send a letter denying it, there's no need.
Who'd they send the letter to? Did they send it to you?
Three.
No,
No, they didn't.
I was told by DLGF, they emailed it.
Did you get it?
George Helton told me they sent it to all three of you.
Hold on. Did you get it?
If you didn't receive it, you've got a copy of it.
yeah. Whatever.
I don't make up the DLGF rules. That's what they told me. Okay. Back to, option three.
I want to comment a little more on that.
Go ahead.
It pretty well says in the ad in the paper on the Cume Fire that them people were entitled to a hearing. It says that if the signatures were certified, 25 of them, they had 52 of them, if they were certified, that they would be provided a hearing, and they were never provided a hearing. They just sent a letter and said the rate goes through. So I feel sorry for any of you guys out there that signed it. I didn't sign it, but.
That is the rules of the DLGF. If you want to get that changed, you got to talk to your legislature.
Well.
Okay, all right, we can move on. All right, let's just, you got the paper for the virtual voting? Yeah, oh, go ahead, yeah, go ahead, man, sorry.
Let's go back to the Cume Fire Fund. So I probably am more versed on it than anyone. So, and I actually just had this conversation with the town of Austin 3 weeks ago. The town also has failed to accrue to keep up with the price of equipment. So we're talking about one tanker, we're talking about right this second, okay? But we need to be thinking about the long game, okay? And Larry and I had our discussion the other day, and I have a tanker that needs replaced. Two that need to be reversed to one. I have a ladder truck that the town of Austin really needs to consider purchasing. I have a fire station that really needs replaced because if you look, we're limited on the trucks because how close and how small the station is. Those are three, and then staffing is my number one word. Those are all things except the staffing that we can use that Cume Fire Fund for. The town township, it doesn't matter. Neither one have been accruing at a high enough rate to plan for the future. Okay. Tim and David have made very good points. I understand exactly what they're saying. I agree with Tim with getting the engine paid off first. To me, that's a good idea. But it's a better idea 6 years ago when I emailed them and said, we need to raise the Cume Fire funds. That would have been a good time to do it. Okay? So we're behind, not 5 years, not 10 years, we're 15 years. We're kicking the can down the road, and our shoes are gone. I mean, we're kicking it with our bare feet. Okay? We are not accruing enough money to keep up with the price of the fire service, what everything costs. And it's not what I want to do. I mean, I don't see why some of our stuff is this expensive. It does not make sense to me. For a necessary evil, we have to have. So that's the key.
So you made a point that I've been wondering, so that's why I think that the Cume fund is never going away, because as soon as this one gets replaced, this is too old, and this is too old. So it's gonna keep going. I mean, so we're fooling ourselves to say, it's gonna come back up.
And I could be wrong, I believe what Larry was saying was it would drop because the Cume fund's gonna be there. But we have the Cume fund and we have the loan, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the loan, we wouldn't have the loan payment any longer, we would have the Cume, it would just be that Cume fund.
But that would
Eventually,
keep
we would have to get a
going.
loan, but if we can push it out, but we should have been accruing this.
Yeah, I know, should have, could have, would have, but.
I got an email saying we do it.
Yeah, at this point, it's never, I mean, it's.
That Cume fund's always gonna be
But
there.
I mean, our tax rate and our tax increase is never.
That
So
zero,
to say that it's gonna come back down, I think it's.
it would, it
I've
really would.
never in
It
my
would.
whole life I've never seen my taxes go down. And I can find anybody to show me that there's.
No, I understand what you're saying. It would go down because we wouldn't have that whole thing. Yeah, we have another
I'm just saying, let's,
Fire
be
that.
2 years. It's not 1 year and then it's going back. That's not what's gonna happen.
It would, if not, if we don't buy it.
But we'll need something else next year, whatever. What do you say? Right.
Let's
We'll need
move
something else,
on.
so.
Okay.
What are we paying currently in the food fund? We can go up to .033.
We're paying about .0007. We're taking about $1,300 a year. For current. In fact, this year, I made a mistake or didn't catch it. We didn't put any money. We were supposed to put $1,000 in. We didn't put any money in.
We're getting money in it. That last tax thing, we got,
I looked at it and we goofed out. We were gonna put the same amount in there last year, which was like $1,394. This year we put nothing.
Just to piggyback onto that, we're talking about fire hydrant. We haven't addressed everything else that it takes to run a corporation. So we're talking about one item. The fume fund is designed to continue to build for the future, exactly what Ben had said. I feel that's what we need to be looking at. Max that out and look to the future. My opinion.
What's your position? You're with the state, you've been involved with the state, you're on state court, somewhere along the line, you've got a position. We all know what's going on.
I'm with the State Volunteer Firefighters Association.
It's probably as well versed as Ken is on what's going on here. This .033, it's just sort of getting to be a gotcha. We weren't doing enough in the past, and now we're going to have to continue. And you're right, it's not going to go away because it can't go away. But when the next time comes that we need to buy a fire truck, we're not going to have it.
That's what I wanted to know.
Anybody else got a question?
Please charge the battery, it's low.
All right, other speaker did. Let's move on to the next
Okay.
thing, Larry.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's move on to the,
Okay, this option 3. Basically, this is the one that.
we've been through all that.
I thought you were done with that, Larry.
Larry,
I thought, let's move on.
let's move on.
We've discussed it.
No, it's not discussed. Let me finish this. This is what Tim and David would like to have. Is they'd like to borrow the
Where's the answer?
$256,000, which the total interest on that would be $58,000. And that would cause us to spend $33,154 more dollars in it. Now, basically, this whole meeting gets down to, do you want to save $33,000 in
Please
interest?
charge the
Or
battery.
are you willing to pay that over 6 years? If $33,000 does not mean anything to you, then when the board comes to vote for the budget in September, they can put whatever amount of money they want in there. But if you feel that this $33,000 is worth saving, you need to talk to your board members and let them know what your feelings
Please
are,
charge
one
the
way or another.
battery, it's low.
Okay, you done? Is that?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. Now we'll discuss. Everybody ain't got their questions answered. Anybody got any other questions before we move on?
Larry, do you have a charger for this? It's like battery charge, do you have a charger for that or not?
Yes, we're gonna have to talk louder.
Okay, it's starting to.
Okay, we'll talk louder.
Please charge the battery, it's low.
Thank you. Tim, I checked my, on this virtual voting, I checked on that right before I left the office. Tony did not have it back to me.
When did you order it from him?
Oh, it's been ordered for, ever since that last meeting.
Okay, I just wondered.
But I asked him last week when he was going to have it done. I said, I gotta have it by today. He said, I'll have it to you by today, but something may
Please
have come
charge
up.
the battery is low.
On this virtual voting, personally, I am not in favor of it. One of our members, Tim, spends about 4 or 5 months down in Florida,
3.
3 months down in Florida. And one of these meetings that was held to raise the rate to .033, he could not attend and vote because he was virtual. And I believe that has upset him. That's why he wants us to allow him to vote from Florida virtually. Personally, if you're going to be a member of my board, I want you here so I can talk to you face to face.
Whose board are they?
Pardon?
Whose board are they?
They're on the trustee of the township.
Are they elected officials?
Yes.
Then they're not yours, they are ours.
Okay, they're yours, that's fine. You voted
And
for it.
I'm upset about it. I'm the one who brought up the virtual voting when I found out Tim couldn't vote in that meeting. So don't cast the blame on him, that was me.
Okay, fine, we've all got our opinions. I personally think if somebody's going to serve on the board, I want him to be at the board meeting.
You're entitled to your opinion.
So you're saying he can't zoom in to your meeting?
Yeah, I zoomed in, I put my input in. I zoomed in and put my input in, but I couldn't vote. But with a virtual agreement, I could vote on most things. Not all things, but most things.
Yeah, when it comes to the budget, if Tim is in Florida, which he won't be, he couldn't vote on the budget. You have to be here. And only one member can attend virtually. If one of the other guys was on vacation and said, hey, I want to go virtual too, they can't do it.
Okay.
This will probably have to happen at the next meeting then, when Tony gets back with me.
What about yes, it's been a couple of
So we
meetings.
need to make sure Tony gets us.
Well,
Tony,
it was at the May 14th meeting that this was asked for.
Yes.
And also it was asked for a maintenance agreement on the cemetery at that time too.
So
have we heard
do we
anything
need to
about
reach
that?
out to Tony to get him?
Yeah, do we need to reach out to him ourselves?
I'll take care of it. I've been on top of Tony, he's had some other, we're not his only guy. He's staying on top. He'll take care of it.
Okay, you done with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to discuss the fire agreement termination from the town of Aussie. But before we discuss it, the board is going to give an account of what has happened to lead up to this. The town of Austin come to us at our last budget meeting and asked for more money. They asked for a lot of more money. And we hashed it over and we gave them more money. We didn't give them what we wanted, but we raised their rate. We gave them more money. It passed. We went on. They were in agreement. Were they not in agreement of our raising and giving them more money at the
I
time?
asked for 50% of budget, which would have been 99,000. The board agreed to give them 79,000 this year, but next year, they said they would be entertaining the thought of giving them 50% of the budget.
It's dead.
It's dead?
You got to speak.
Okay. The meeting before our first budget meeting. In other words, you got to have 2 budget meetings. You propose it, the public sees it, and then you adopt it. The meeting before that, they came and asked us to split the budget 50-50. Well, our contract does not say that. Our contract says we buy equipment and they supply the manpower. And that's the contract we had. In that contract, in March of 2023, the town had input on it. And the only thing we changed on that contract was we put the new rescue on and took the old one off and added that the township would pay for the fuel for that truck. That's the only thing we changed. The board signed it, Larry signed it. They took it to the town and the town didn't sign it. They said they didn't need to sign it. We had one that automatically renewed. So that's the agreement we had. Well, the meeting before our budget meeting, the town came and wanted us to split that budget 50-50. Well, change the contract then. They never changed the contract. They told us we don't need your trucks. I said, well, if you don't need our trucks, what about our turnout gear and our oxygen bottles and stuff? What are you going to do if we take all that? Well, we won't need as many firefighters. That was their answer. So then I'm in Florida. I get my printout. I do my homework. The town bills us for hydrant rental, $28,000. Now that's totally against that contract that still is in force. There's no hydrants out here in the country.
Now, mind you, that
So-
was not brought up to the board's attention. We were never told.
We
they
were
were
never
going
asked.
Never asked. It was not relayed to us. He was gonna cut a check to the town of Austin for hydrants. So we had no input whatsoever in that, which he found out he couldn't do. Did you not, Larry?
Correct, but the fire.
You found out you
So-
couldn't do it, correct?
So-
Right? Okay.
So Larry then went to the town board and told them, I'm going to get you a check for half of our budget money in June and half of it in December.
That was a proposed agreement. I never.
The way the paper read, I don't know.
That was a proposed agreement, which the board said they didn't want anything to do with.
Well, anyhow, so that happened. And the town, so we had a meeting and requested that they return our hydrant money, and they did. But then we wanted to sit down with the town and discuss. Larry asked the town to sit down with them and discuss this fire agreement. Josh Barkley said, nope, we ain't sitting down. The next meeting they come and they said, here's the fire agreement. You're paying half this budget or we're terminating your agreement. No,
End of the year.
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
That's correct. The contract's
At
still
the
in
end of the
place.
year. Yeah, the contract was still in place, but
as
they
of
never,
today, it's
they
still
never
in place.
asked the township for any input on what we wanted to do or any ideas.
Have we, as board members, have we all asked to meet with the town of Austin? to
We've
discuss
asked
it?
twice.
No
Have
one
we
has
not?
asked me.
Okay.
I'm on the town council.
You're-
There's 5 members.
There's a liaison for the fire
Yes,
department.
he's
and-
been at all
And
of the
Larry
meetings.
asked Mr. Barkley, he's the town president, and he's the one that told him, no, we're not going to sit down with you.
But you cannot say the council has denied that.
Okay,
That's a person on the council.
Okay, well,
Well,
we've asked to have a meeting. I assume the president would have,
My question is, have you two gone to the town of Austin's board meetings and brought this up to them at their board meetings?
we can't go together to a board meeting because we'd have a quorum.
One of you has attended our board meeting.
Yes, I have.
Never requested.
nope.
It was requested to Larry, it's documented in our minutes.
Wasn't requested by at our meeting.
Larry requested it, and he's the one that said, Josh said, no meeting.
That was not at a meeting.
If you request a council meeting with a township trustee board, the two of you together, then all of you guys can come.
Right.
But it has
Right,
to be-
right, and that's what we wanted, but it was never, they presented it, this is the way it's gonna be. They never got any input from us. And we said, no, we aren't gonna do that. That's not the way our contract reads. And they said, okay, here's your termination notice.
Which is what the contract says. If we do not win.
Yeah, so you can terminate our contract. You guys terminated our contract, basically, at the end of the year.
Yes,
The contract will be terminated.
terminated.
So-
We can figure out a new contract.
So after they terminated our contract for not signing their contract that they wanted, they said, and it's documented in our minutes, there's no way we can use your $79,000 we budgeted by buying equipment. We're not buying that much equipment. So there's no way we can do that. So we said, well, okay, we will pay $35,000 towards your firefighting expense. And that's what we made a motion and agreed to do that. You told us you couldn't use the money. So,
That's not what we said. At our last town council meeting, we agreed to use the $35,000. That is what was voted on by our council.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
that's correct. That's correct. That was
it
voted,
says
that's
right in our minutes from May 14th, the current contract prevents the ability to use the full budget. That's what,
contract prevents the ability, because of what the current contract says, you could only pay, I believe, up to $35,000 out of the $79,000 you have budgeted. So our question was, how are we supposed to be able to access the additional remainder of that money when the current contract did not allow us to bill you for anything more?
That, we don't pay you. We pay our vendors direct. If we buy turnout gear, we pay the company that sells that turnout
Yeah,
gear.
when do we
We've got
write
a
the town
record
of
of what we
Ossian
own.
check?
We don't write the town of
When do we
Ossian
write the
checks. We
Ossian-
write them
yeah.
one check. We write them one check for the rental of this building.
That's it.
That's the only check we write to
Apparently
them.
you write some checks, because Larry wrote one for hydrant rental, which again was not.
Well,
supposed to
it was
happen,
against the
but-
It was
contract.
against the contract.
It was against the contract.
And the way we have to change this contract is a process, and we went through the process. There's a lot of stuff going around here that we, the board, are not paying it. We didn't agree to pay it. Just like you guys, we have a process we have to go through to do it, and we've gone through the process. Now, we've been unjustly attacked out here that we refuse to sign it, that we refuse to sign this. We can't, till we have a meeting, we can't sign it till we all agree on it.
Exactly, you voted
And-
on it at the last meeting though, correct?
Okay.
That's
now,
correct.
Let's,
To send it to you guys. Now we're at our next meeting to see if we're gonna sign it or we ain't gonna sign it.
now, let's move on here on this.
Now, we need to clear up a few items that maybe were unclear. I'm saying, I've been trying to get you guys to update this fire agreement ever since I've been in office.
And we did.
All you said was, no, we're not changing anything. Then we found out that we couldn't pay the current 79,000, we couldn't pay that with the fire agreement that is currently in place. So that's when I found out we needed to do an amendment, which I've got here tonight. The town has signed it, and I'm asking you guys to sign that amendment tonight.
And that was our goodwill of working with the town. We didn't have to do that the way that contract read. That was a goodwill towards working with the town, because they told us they couldn't use our 79,000 for fire equipment. It,
Based on the current contract, you couldn't spend your $79,000 is what was said.
But it said
our
that
minutes
you guys couldn't-
are recorded. They are recorded. And
Go back and listen to it.
Yes, go back and listen to the minutes.
okay,
It was told us.
so it was said that they could not use our $79,000 because the current contract prevents the ability to use the full budget. It says that's what it was said on the tape.
We were told by the town liaison at our last meeting that the fire department needed no equipment. They could not spend the
Well, let me
79,000.
get it.
I think you shouldn't speak for people who aren't here.
I'm just saying, that's what we were told. It's in our minutes.
But
I'm not
Stephanie,
speaking for them,
if they are your liaison, they are representing you guys, and that's the only thing we have to
That's
go
all we
on.
got to go on.
They are your liaison, and that's what they
I'm
tell
not
us.
speaking of something that we can't bring up on our minutes that was said.
Now, let's move on. You said you couldn't use it. We agreed to pay $35,000 towards your firefighting expense. Now, the same meeting that you agreed to accept the $35,000, you spent
We agreed to take it to our board.
you didn't take it to the board.
Take it to the board, yes.
That's
but you're
correct.
saying we agreed to accept it at your meeting. That is not accurate.
Not at our meeting, at your board meeting.
You get nitpicky, then get nitpicky.
At
No,
your
at
board
your
meeting,
meeting.
you accept it. You'd like our $35,000 check, wouldn't you? Okay,
Now, 35,000 is for labor.
right.
That's what the board agreed to.
That's right.
That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
Because you couldn't use our 79,000. But at that same meeting, Ben said he needed $168,000 worth of air packs. And it's not that I deny the firefighters air packs. All that stuff is labeled. There's a date on there, and that's only good for so long. But you guys' budget is 152 with a dated air packs and that. Why wouldn't you know that expense was coming?
Yes, we have
And
asked for
give
future
the
expenses,
people
so-
that are buying your stuff a heads up on,
Yes.
hey, this bill is coming. Now, so we were told you
There's
couldn't.
much no
Well, that's up to your fire chief to notify you that this stuff is coming up. It's not a surprise when that
It's all
stuff is
dated. Is it not dated? Is the equipment not dated? Do they've got no idea when they need to replace
Our
it?
fire chief does a magnificent job of
I'm
notifying
just-
us of upcoming expenses and needs, and he's never had an issue when he's brought us anything saying, what, this is coming out of the blue. I wholeheartedly believe when Ben tells me that his air packs are outdated, then his air packs are outdated.
But why
And
would,
he's not gonna replace them until he knows it's absolutely necessary.
Ben, would you like to?
I would
all
love
that money
to,
came
I
out?
would love to say some stuff
Go
here.
ahead.
Hey, can we
So-
get into a position where there's only one person got the floor?
Yeah,
What
sorry.
is all this ritter-rat?
Yeah, sorry.
Only one person can have the floor to time.
Ben's got the floor. You want to say something first?
I just said my piece. One man at a time.
Okay. All
No
right,
more
Ben,
bickering.
Good. So,
Ben can explain some of this about this $168,000.
the air
You
packs,
have the floor.
the air packs. The reason you guys weren't notified was because it came up 2 months ago. So this was from July, so June. I brought it up to you guys.
I was not at the June meeting.
Yes, so, late June is when I was notified that we could get on the state bid, a state grant, that some other departments received the grant, we did not. So with doing that, by getting on that bid price, we were able to save, roughly $33,000. It's usually they're usually like $8,800, I'm going off the number, $8,500 for packaging, of like $7,300. Roughly. So, that happened early June. I ran my numbers within my budget for the town, which I have access to, and saw that we had those funds. Gave it to the town council and said, hey, don't need an extra night, this is on the plate for next month, I will dial everything in. So at the July meeting, that was approved because I was able to pull those, pull funds, I knew where that money was at. The reason why I didn't even take it to Jefferson Township, to even ask them, was when they, at the time, they were looking to not even join or stay with Austin. They were looking for coverage elsewhere. At that point, I'm not going to include them on one purchase if they're gonna look for coverage elsewhere. So that's why I went straight to the town. The town had the funds, that's why. That's the only reason. But at the time, that I got those numbers from MES, as the vendor, was early June. So things do move quick. The reason we say that 33,000 just on the price of the quote, because of the state bid, but they're also going up 15% next year. So we had to have that in before December 16th. So that's why we pushed it through at the town council meeting in July.
Ben did say the township, a lot of money by taking care of that with the town of Austin. I've got, the way this fire agreement works, the fire agreement, the town has notified us that the fire agreement will end at the end of this year. Okay?
When did they notify us? When was the date they notified us? Who notified us?
You got that letter from Judge Barkley, don't you?
Yeah, when was it?
Is there a date on it?
Yeah, it's dated.
Well, that's when you were notified.
That would have been April 14th, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so,
April 16th.
April 16th. We were notified that our contract
I'll
was,
give you plenty of time. Okay, like I say on this budget, agreement, I'm sorry. If we got agreement in place and we can only spend money on certain things. One of the things is we have to rent this building for $100 from the town of Austin. We have to pay 50% of the insurance. We have to pay the maintenance on the vehicles that we own. We have to pay the diesel for all of them. Those are basically the only things we can spend money on.
All of them.
No.
Yes,
yeah.
Doesn't the town, does it?
yep.
You guys used to pay for this.
Diesel for
They've
all
all,
the time?
yes, township pays diesel for every single truck I put in the town trucks. The town of Austin pays for all the gas.
And the county rescue. And that's what the updated contract was about. but it never got signed.
So anyway, back to this agreement. We technically, the agreement is going to come to an end at the end of the year. Now, we still need to be able to spend the 79,000 that the board has so graciously given the township to spend to the firefighter. Well, but the agreement doesn't allow me to spend 79,000. So Tim suggested that they pay $35,000 for the labor. Okay, if you take 35,000 away from the 79,000, that is about the normal amount of money that Ben is going to provide me with invoices to pay. So I think if this 35,000, if it gets signed tonight with the bills that I'm going to receive for the rest of the year, I think we're going to come close to that 79,000. And if we don't, the money stays in the firefighting fund and just stays there for next year. It's not like we've got to give it back or we lose it. So what I'm asking the board tonight is to sign this cooperative firefighting agreement amendment, which the town council has already signed. I asked the board to sign this at another meeting when we had our audit, and they said, no, they don't want to sign it. They would rather wait until our next meeting. So is the board ready to sign this?
The reason we said wait, because I wanted in our minutes what we did, what we agreed to. And so this is our next meeting.
Yeah.
After we proposed that, they accepted it. I didn't want to sign it just because we went to an audit. I wanted to sign it where I had it in my minutes and had a record of it.
But we've been attacked that we didn't want to sign it. This is our first opportunity to sign it.
For the February 21st meeting. You agreed to this $35,000 at the February 21st meeting, and then you signed it at the first meeting you were back. So it's been out there a long time.
No, Larry.
Not this one.
I've got the minutes right here.
It wasn't
Not
even
this one.
proposed till when they give us the termination notice, April 16th was when I approached it.
It was approved by the board February 21st.
No, it
No, not
wasn't.
this one, it
Okay,
wasn't.
I'll get to it.
So do you have that amendment on hand right now, Larry?
Somewhere where I can find it's probably a good question. I'll look for
I
it.
made that motion when they gave us that termination agreement. And that was April 16th, that termination agreement is dated.
Yeah.
All I know, AJ, you've got the minutes from February 21st, don't you?
What does it?
That's fine. We're going to move. All right, so I'm making the motion, we adopt the policy for Jefferson Township trustee and clerk. No, that's the wrong one.
The board is denying this. I think we need to.
Larry, I need that amendment so I can read it. So I know what exactly we're signing or what we're agreeing
It's
to.
February 21st.
No, not that one. An amendment
That's
for the
not
35,000.
1,000.
Where's that? I need that amendment that the town of Ossian signed. I need
Yeah,
that.
where's the,
Let me see that.
Yeah,
Let me
that's
see-
the one
That's
we
what I
need.
want.
You guys should have had this argument before me.
I know.
Agree.
I know.
I agree.
All right, so I'm making the motion, Jefferson Township Board and the Town of Ossian are amending the current fire agreement. This amendment allows Jefferson Township to pay $35,000 for firefighting labor. This expense applies towards the current $79,000 in 2024 fire budget for Jefferson Township.
So I like the second motion.
I didn't know somebody first.
I just did, I
Okay.
just made the motion.
All right, yeah, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Sign
Right
one
here.
of them.
I got it.
Let me have it.
Rob had a hand up back here.
Yeah. Somebody
Rob,
got
you had a
something to say?
hand up.
My only question was wondering when we were gonna get past when you guys have gotten to that point, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
You answered the question that I had.
Thank you.
Can I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're 5 months away from this contract ending. Are you guys taking any kind of attempt to negotiate a new contract with the town of Austin?
We can't sit.
Contract, the amendment needs to be signed first. And then the town of Austin and I and 2 lawyers are going to come up with a new agreement for next year.
Good, so let's get this moving before
That's why we're gonna start right now.
Okay.
We started probably this month.
So what is that process when it comes up with a new agreement? Does she take it to you and then is it gonna be a public discussion or?
I would recommend the town board and this board sits down, because if he makes an agreement out we don't agree with, we won't sign it.
We won't sign it.
So we,
Tell him you want one of you three on in that meeting.
I think
Well,
all three of
all
us
three of us
need to
should
be
be there,
on there,
'cause we-
and your whole town board
If you
needs
stick
to be on
around, you'll
there.
see why, because what we gotta discuss at the end, you'll see why all three of us need to be there at
We
it.
should all be there.
Yes, I
That's
agree.
right.
I agree 100%, and so should you people. It should not be hidden from anybody. Yeah, go ahead. We got some discussion to use yet on township guidelines. You'll see it at the end of the meet, when we discuss the township guidelines, it'll answer the questions of why all three of us need to be at the meeting. Yeah.
My biggest thing is, and it all boils down to, and I don't know if anybody knows, but I am on the town board. I went over stuff with Ben, and you guys, the work you put in breaking down that stuff, there's nobody here that put more time and dedication into that stuff.
We're on top of it.
It all boils down to, and I've seen the numbers, that the fire station, it costs them exactly the same for the county and the town. Now, I was not born and raised in Wells County, so I don't have this Bluffton Norwell mentality that some of you, or Jefferson Township, Austin. I like all of it. It needs to quit. You guys have half the bill, we have half the bill. If me and you have a business together, 50%, 50%. I buy the 3 old rusty vans that are sitting outside my store. I make you buy the material, pay the labor, pay the insurance, but at the end of the year, I want 50% of the profit. You're gonna tell me to take a hike. The township pays 50% because that's what they use. The town pays 50% because that's what they use. If you need the numbers, he'll print them off for you. It is dead even what the cost is to him for the boat. You guys and us want to bicker about who's paying what. Why don't we throw it all in? What's it matter if that belongs to you or it belongs to the town? If you split it up, nobody's got anything.
It belongs to the people.
It belongs to everybody.
The town.
And we can write a paper up that says, hey, these belong, whether it comes out of Ossian's money or your money. This all belongs to Jefferson and Ossian evenly, no matter where the money comes from. That can be drafted by an attorney. And that would quit this, I only pay for trucks, I only pay for water, I won't pay for labor. What's it matter as long as everybody's house is protected? This is crazy.
Three catches on fire as far as our piece of equipment, even though I live in town, I believe every piece of equipment will be out there, won't it? I mean, that's it, he's right, it just needs to be thrown in, and how the agreement needs to be made, so that we pay 50/50.
Part of the reason is that contract said we buy equipment, and we bought that engine, and we still owe on that engine. Now, they don't owe on any of their equipment. And so
Saving money to buy new equipment.
now Larry interrupted me.
You're making a mistake.
Okay, you need to stop the one person talking at a time.
Let me finish talking, will you?
I want to ask.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Let him finish.
So we have had a debt on that, and that figures into the amount of money that the township pays for fire protection. It's an expense. And now they're talking about buying a new tanker, which is another 400 and some $1,000, and it's the township's expense again. It's money, and that figures into fire protection. It's money. So as
together and just pay for it, what's it matter? If you pay for it or Aussie pays, what's it matter? As long as it gets paid for, we can, the little details that we're fighting about can be.
you keep interrupting me. So that is why the difference here is when you add our fire debt on, and I've got a letter to the editor I put out, and there's copies here if you want it, that why I feel it is equal. When you put our fire debt on with what our budget is, and you take the town's budget and you remove the 29,000 line item in their budget that the Ossian Fire Department pays to the Ossian Water Department. It's still Ossian's money. When it comes down to it, theirs is $122,995, and our bill is $131,690. And that's where why we're against paying for half the budget, because now we're going to be the old agreement. We bought equipment, they paid the manpower. The new agreement, they want us to split that. We're still paying on a truck, and we're going to pay for manpower too.
Tim, the way that agreement is written up is it's split 50-50. Whatever is bought for the fire department, 50% is owned by Jefferson, 50% by Ossian. That's why it's going to be broke down. Whether in the future, we're looking a couple years, because Ossian's growing, they're going to have to invest in a ladder truck. It's going to be $1 million. Are we going to keep talking about that? This building's not big enough for a ladder truck. It's not big enough for this equipment they have now. So when they expand on this building and they buy a ladder truck, then now their equipment is way more expensive, right?
But in the same note, AJ, that ladder truck's gonna be the second truck coming to your town.
Correct. So it's not going to be 50. Technically, it's not going to be 50-50 in the future. Ossian's going to be spending way more money here in the next several years than Jefferson Township will ever spend. They're asking for the operating budget. They're not asking about fire trucks. They're not asking about a building. They're talking about the operating budget. We're not paying 50% of the operating budget. And that's what they're asking for. And that's where our amendment kind of gets to that point. We weren't paying for manpower for years. And Ossian has been. Without manpower, fire equipment is useless. So that's where Jefferson Township needs to stand up and pay for that operating budget, which is mainly a lot of manpower. That's the biggest portion of any budget.
Richard, you had a question right there.
Comment, question, I guess. With 1 year left on paying for our engine, in my eyes, this is a perfect time for us to look to the future and do away with his toys, my toys, and go to a cash contract where we pay a flat amount, and in Tim's works, we're paying half. So who the hell gives a damn if we're paying half of our half is being spent? Give them the half to spend. So I would like, I know I can't do it off the floor here, but I would like for us to look and just go into a cash contract moving forward when this truck is paid off. And then what we're going to alleviate this township. So,
That could be an option that we discussed with the board. Ben?
thank you.
Yeah.
AJ hit on this, and I have the numbers, I just want to go over them. So the biggest thing is the operating budget, and Tim's making a valid point that the township is paying for that truck, okay? The town also pays in the cume fund, not enough, but they do pay in the cume fund. But over, and I have right here from 2020. So in 2020, the operating budget, just operating budget, not the loan, not their loan, not my cume fund, not my lit money from the town, just operating budget, the town was around $101,600 was the operating budget. The township was $41,677. Okay. And I'll give you, everyone can have copies of these. I have plenty of them. I'll have to make them. 2021 budget, the town paid $101,600. Township was $41,677. 2022, the town operating budget was $104,648, and then the township was $41,677. In 2023, the town's operating budget was $115,560, and Jefferson Township was $45,000. And this year, the town's operating budget is $152,128 because they added a part-time firefighter, and the township's is $79,000. However, we keep talking about the $79,000, but that has not been paid. That $35,000 took it to $79,000. So those are the numbers. So even though the township is paying a loan on a truck, which costs money, I understand that part of it. The town is paying almost double on the operating budget every single year over what the township has been paying. So those are all.
Luann?
Yeah.
So the other thing is, even though it seems like it might be higher on your end, they don't bill you for the water. Every time these trucks leave or they need water for a fire outside of the town of Austin, you're using town water. The town pays for that water to be processed. They don't bill you for that. Also, you're only paying $100 a year for a building. Where are you gonna get a building for $100 a year? So it does work out. It just is not like clear cut this, and this.
That letter that you brought out there about the letter to the editor, Ben and I reviewed your numbers on there, and they weren't real accurate, were they, Ben?
What part of it was wrong?
You had your budget, your loan and interest as what you guys pay, but you only had the town's operating budget. You didn't have the lit, the Cume Fire Fund.
Let's talk about lit then. Lit is local income tax. That's not what a taxpayer here is billed for. That's money that comes back from the state of Indiana, from your income tax. When you pay your income tax, they send some of that back. The town gets $404,000 in lit money. We get $49,000 in lit money. Of that $104,000 that the town gets, it's earmarked from the state. About $120,000 of that is public safety, and $50,000 in their budget is earmarked for the fire department. Now, we don't have access to that stuff. I mean, the state just doesn't pay us that money. And so that's, they want to compare the money they spend, but they've got a lot of different revenue that we don't get. One, they get revenue from when they make a run in the township and the town, they get money from the county. When you have a house fire, Ossian Fire Inc. bills for that house fire. Now, sometimes the insurance pays it, sometimes it doesn't. It goes into Ossian Fire Inc. It doesn't come into the township, but our stuff services that stuff. They have a lot of revenue. They got $70,000 in CARES Act money, and we got zero. That's what they bought the radios with, and we bought it with our money. There's a lot of different revenue that the township doesn't get, and they want us to come up to that stuff.
So, all right, just to counter some of that, OFD Inc., okay, more background, I'll make it quick. Austin Fire Incorporated is the actual fire. Okay, the town of Austin does not have any fires. They do not, we are not employees of the town of Austin. The only employees are my part-timers. One of them here, that right here, one of my part-timers. He's a volunteer too, but he gets paid. So Austin Fire Inc. is completely different. So Wells County pays us manpower for any rescue. So we get money that goes to Austin Fire Inc. Okay, it doesn't go to the town of Austin. So that's a big difference, okay? Austin Fire Inc. uses that money. We bought the Gator, we bought the command truck that I drive, we bought that compressor right there, Austin Fire Inc. purchased. Extrication equipment, everything else on the rescue is paid for by Austin Fire Inc. So we use that money. That's not taxpayer money. That's not town or township. That's our money. Okay. The breakfast, when you guys know for breakfast, that we use that money for. We have an endowment by the Bob family through Wells County Foundation. We get that money every year. A lot of you don't have anything to spend. We just roll that over in fund interest. That is where that money's come from. It's not taxpayer money. It's not counted in the town of Austin budget. Okay. Lit money is Tim's correct. The township doesn't get the lit money like the town does, but the town of Austin uses that money. I have never responded with trucks saying, oh, this is Jefferson Township's truck, I'm going to take this, or this is the town of Austin's truck, I'm going to take that. It's one of my fire trucks, period. I don't care who bought it. I don't care about any of the equipment who bought it. It's our equipment for my guys to put the fire, period. So Richard said it best, stop with the putting my toys in the sandbox. If we're using it for you guys, period. Okay? But we buy equipment with lit that is used in both the town and the township on a very regular basis. And I told Stephanie wrong. We use lit money for 608. So the white pickup truck that's out there is the SWAT. Has basically our special operations. So it has medical equipment. It has ice water rescue equipment. Ice water rescue. We want all that too. It has air packs in it that both the town and township have used. That gets used more than anything. That goes on med runs every day. That goes on fire runs, town or township, it doesn't matter. So the lit money does get used, even though the township doesn't receive it from the state. All of that gets used for the township residents, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to clarify. That LIT money, it is extra money. We don't get any of it.
We do.
We don't. You guys spend it on, they spend it as they feel needed. And we get some LIT, but
Yeah.
they've never come to us and say, okay, we want 50% of this LIT. They don't have it. It's not costing us any extra money. Okay, anybody else? Any more questions on that subject?
Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
I just want to say, I know that, yes, the town has extra income coming in that the township doesn't have. But some of the stuff that you pointed out, like the CARES Act money, that was based off of the law enforcement salaries. So that is where a large portion of the CARES Act money came from. It was based off of solely the law enforcement salaries. And I will say too, the town has taken into consideration at certain times that, yes, we understand, but it's that we should step up and do extra. When it came to the radios, we did not ask you to pay 50% of the radios. We paid additional on top of what you guys paid for the radios. When, was it correct about the tanker truck, Ben? When one of your tanker trucks broke down, and the engine, and you didn't have the money to buy a new engine, the town of Austin sold you one of their engines, and then they purchased a new one.
And also, the town of Austin also owns the grass truck, which is going to be used for field fires in the county. And Austin Fire Incorporated bought the skid unit that goes in the back, so the pump, the tank, everything was purchased by Austin Fire Inc. with our breakfast money. So
the town understands that, yes, we do have additional monies that you may not have. But we're not asking for it to be 50-50. We're asking for exactly what AJ said. We're asking for 50% of the operating budget because 50% of the runs take place in the township. And the other 50% take place in the town.
And the assessed value of both is very, very similar. And the, there's one other thing that's, the population, very close in population. There's a couple more, go ahead.
In all fairness, though, I don't think that's right to judge it that way because things are going to change in the future. I mean, the town of Ossian is getting very large. You're going to grow. I don't know that we're going to grow out in the country as much. I mean, I'm just saying.
Right, no,
At that
that's.
point, the numbers doesn't. You
We're
can't look
basically
at the
on
future
the
and say
numbers that we
that.
got.
I think I agree with what he said, Cameron said, is that we look at ourselves as just one entity. I mean, we're all neighbors, we're all musicians, there seems to be a lot of bickering here on both sides, and neither side are bad guys, or girls, or women, whatever. You're just trying to do your job. And so we're just interested in fairness to the whole community of the whole township, which includes Aussie. I mean, it's just one big area. So I think if you guys, when you think about your budget, I want to be included in that budget.
Our meetings are all.
So, yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can do with that, come up with an agreement, and considering the fact that most of these people here are saying the same thing. We just are one community, and if you can just come together in a civil way, take your turn, whatever it is, you know, I think you can come up with some kind of agreement that will take care of that.
And we would. I want to just, this is a point of interest. I've been through some old records. Back in 2010, Mary Schaefer, our former clerk, sent a letter to Rich McCoy, who at that time was the trustee. That letter stated that we are terminating your contract at the end of the year because you're not willing to pay they didn't say 50%. They just weren't paying their fair share. That particular year, the Jefferson Township was paying $33,000 and the town of Austin was paying $93,000. So this goes back, and it goes back farther than that. But I'm just telling you, now's the time to get it correct.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't really need to know that.
Well, that being said,
Without-
when you guys are negotiating your contract, you should be taking the opinion of the other three fellows also.
Well, they'll certainly be involved in that.
Yeah.
Make sure it happens.
Oh, yeah. They gotta sign it, you know, if they're not happy, it's not gonna get signed.
Don't let two lawyers come in from Egypt and decide what's right.
That's not really, these are local lawyers, and somebody we will base the agreement on the last agreement, but then there will have to be some changes made. But we gotta get something on paper, so my board can look at it, the council can look at it, and then they both make the changes that they want. But we gotta get something for somebody to look at. We can't just sit down to a meeting and start arguing about, I want this, I want that. We gotta have something there to begin with.
Who are the local attorneys? I'm just curious.
Tony Crowell, and what's
Mike Harper.
Mike Hart, he's the attorney for the town of Austin, and Tony Crowell is Jefferson Township. Yep, and they're both local, Huntington and Dalton. And they work with us.
Township's already amended our contract.
Whatever. Somebody else had a question. You good, Shirley? Somebody else. Yeah.
I just said Indiana code says that you do negotiating with the town and the lawyers and then present it to both entities. That's one of your jobs, not anybody else's. You're supposed to do it with the whoever the board of options board does. But here's the not you, but the township trustee must be the only negotiator. That's the law.
That's correct. Township trustee negotiates the contract, and then the board signs and approves.
But you gotta have their best.
Yeah.
You gotta have their
They have to sign.
That's
If they don't sign off,
I don't think that-
it don't make any difference. You had a question.
I don't have a question or comment. I just want you guys to remember that you are working for us.
Correct.
You need to see what we want and then make your decision. Stop the bickering. I don't care how much you two hate each other, or 3 of you, or 4, 5, 6, however many of you there are, I don't care. You need to hear what we want, and that is what you need to vote on.
And you need to come to our meeting. And voice your opinion.
I've been in last year, is that okay?
You're doing a good job, good job.
How you want to raise your taxes?
You're never gonna do it.
Yeah, we'll never get
Anybody else
out.
have a question on that particular subject? Okay, you guys got any more on that? Okay, let's move on.
Discuss requests from the 4 surrounding fire departments for fire protection.
David said that, part of my job was when the board was notified that we weren't gonna have fire protection, I had to seek out other fire departments and see if there was anybody else that was gonna provide fire protection. Well, Tim had already checked with Preble, and Preble said they could not provide. Indiana code says they have to provide adequate fire protection. Preble said they could not provide protection, right, Tim? Is that correct?
They just turned us down. What they actually told me was, well, we got to work with the fire chief, and he called us. Says, hey, if we're going to work together, don't help them guys. So that's what I was told.
You got 2 rebel firefighters here, right? You got 2 rebel firefighters sitting here. That is not accurate.
Well,
I can guarantee he didn't call him. I talked to my chief in Pro.
It wasn't the chief I talked to. It was.
No, you talked to the assistant chief. One of your vendors for your fields or something probably, right? Anyways, so no, he didn't go to the Preble chief. Dave Rittmeyer, went to the Preble fire chief.
Okay.
So your story.
So what'd you tell him?
Preble cannot cover this area. It's too gone far. You gotta be realistic.
Preble doesn't have the manpower. You guys barely have the manpower. We hardly have the manpower.
And we can't even get close enough.
That's what?
It's too far away.
That's not what I was told, but whatever.
Okay, I also checked with Markle. Markle said they could not provide adequate fire protection. I talked to Southwest. Southwest, Poe is involved in Southwest. Southwest said they could not provide adequate fire protection. And I also talked with the city of Bluffton, who would have probably been our best shot. And they said they could not provide adequate fire protection. So that's why we need to go back to the table and start talking with the town of Austin to get this fire agreement put in place for next year. We have no other option. But we should be very, very fortunate that
We just want,
we should be very fortunate we've got the fire department we've got. We've got an excellent fire department. They have a 5 rating.
They are a good fire department. Our beef is not with the fire department. We're responsible for fire protection, but we are also responsible for the money that's spent for fire protection. And so we gotta look out for both. Just a minute. I'm talking. We're responsible for both them. So we gotta weigh what works out. Yeah.
Somebody else want to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say, you hear, we want fire protection. You hear that, right?
Yeah, I hear
You
you.
want to take down Austin, correct?
I do not.
Who else can adequately cover Jefferson Township with fire protection?
No.
Sidewalk, exactly. There's no way that Preble Fire Department is gonna provide adequate fire coverage to county lines and city. No way.
Getting them church.
I was probably getting my house tax fast, I'm just saying. We got each shot.
That guy said he lives in Thompson, didn't he?
He's on 600. He's
I
on
don't
the
know
same
why we're
side.
all looking or we're reaching out. I just think the town board, the Jefferson Township board, they should have a meeting together and get the percentages out.
he's got the 50% of the operating cost, that's 50% of the operating cost, but there's other things that, that all has to go in it. But there's a percentage that the town gets, there's a percentage of what the township gets. So it should be, it's not 50-50 across the board, it should be balanced out, and everything, lawyers can tell you that, and everything else. And there should be like just a main fund with the Jefferson Township puts their funds in it, town puts their funds in it. It doesn't matter whose truck it is or whatever it is, they're all coming to our houses for a fire. And we need our fucking protection here. We don't need to reach out to any other town or anything around here. We need to have people here that wants to get along and make it happen for here. They don't need to be here.
I've run the numbers, and the town has run the numbers, and 50% of the operating budget is fair.
That's fair. That's the operating. That's not the trucks, the maintenance, the packs, everything else. And they're different funds, there are funds that they get. That should be outside the box and everything else. That's where the fire department, for donations, that should be outside. It just be a percentage. It could be a 60-40 for the rest of the operating. The rest of the expenses, not operating. Operating is 50. Okay. But there shouldn't be having to have all this stuff keep going on and on.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, ready to move on to the next?
Yeah, that's just the end of the fire. Anybody got anything else to say about the fire? If you now speak, don't be afraid. And I can only speak for myself, but if you guys got questions you want to talk to the board, my numbers, I know firemen got it. Call me anytime. I've got no issue discussing it with anybody.
Okay, what's on the next thing?
Sign policy for internal control standards class.
Okay, when we had this audit, like I said, financials were perfect. When I took over, the numbers had not balanced for 4 years, five years. That's all taken care of. But there were 4 policies that I did not have implemented. And this internal controls have a whole lot of pieces to it. And I've attacked the first one here, and I've got it done, and I wanted to ask the board to review it and sign it. But there are more policies, about 4 more policies that I need to work on because we did fail it on the audit. But they were minor infractions, and they're giving me time to straighten them out. Have you guys, did I give you that information on the internal control? This is internal control class that my clerk and I have to attend. And we have to record with the state that we have attended it.
It says you already attended it, right?
Well, we did, yes, but I just want you to know that it's part of the policy that we have to do it every year. And hopefully by our next meeting, I will be able to knock out a few more of those policies.
I make a motion, we approve that. Aye.
Nay.
Here's the one I signed.
You guys want a copy of that? Just sign it. We'll all sign all of them if you want a copy.
You got 1 nay.
Okay.
We got to sign these then?
Well, he said sign it, so we all got a copy.
Yeah, if you want.
If you want a copy. You can have that one, as long as I get a copy, that's all. Here, Lee, which one, you sign them both?
Gene, you want a copy? I'm good. Okay, thank you. Okay, David, what we got?
Last one, the township guidelines.
Tim, did you have time to read that?
I've got through most of it. I didn't get through all of it.
Okay, since Tim hasn't had time to read through it all, I think we'll just need to push this off one more time. Everybody's got it. Tim and David need to get back with me and we discuss it a little bit more. So
You guys think you will have be able to reach an agreement by the time of our next meeting?
we'll talk about it.
Well, I've got some issues.
Yeah, I
on
got
a few
issues
things,
too.
Okay, we'll talk about that outside the meeting.
You guys talk that out on the.
Right, that way let's iron it out outside the meeting. then we can-
Narrow it down to what the issues are.
Right. We'll iron that out outside, because we're already at 2 hours and 6 minutes, guys.
Okay.
I just want to make one short comment about the guidelines. Last year, we had a pretty high township assistance budget. We went way above budget. This year, we're way below budget. But what my investigator Karen has done is found out that we are entitled to get money back from some of these clients that we help. We get them back from the internal, the ITA, Township Association, and we're going to get over about $1,200 back. Nobody has ever gotten any money back for that before, but we are going to get it back, which will go right back into our township assistance fund then.
Larry, I got a question. ITA is a private entity, right?
Karen, would you want to explain this about the, Karen, would you explain about that $1,200, how Tim wants to know why the ITA gets involved in it?
Say it again. I didn't hear you, you're off. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
The ITA, we get $1,200 back from the ITA.
Yes.
Tim is wanting to know why the money's coming through the ITA.
Okay, when the government offers a settlement with townships, there are 1,000+ townships. So the Indiana Township Trustee Association has contracted with the Social Security Administration to be the funnel. So when we have a client who is in the process of getting disability or comes to us and appears to be disabled and agrees to file for disability, which we follow up on, then the state allows us to fund them because we're going to get some back. It goes through the ITA so that it's not Karen or George or Fred inundating the Social Security. So we take 6% of whatever the settlement is for that service from ITA, and then we get a portion of the settlement.
Okay.
We receive no payments after they get Social Security, but if they get SSI, then we receive a portion depending on the size of the family. When we do this process, we often have them say, well, I'm just going to apply for SSDI. The lawyers will have them do that because then we don't get any money. So we just tell them, we want to apply for SSI and SSDI, we're not helping you. We've had 3 people done that. One is off because in the process of verifying her medical, she unqualified herself. The second one, before they ever named the disability, she was at retirement age, so that discontinued. But we are getting $1,200 value on a young man who was desperate. This is very privileged. He was actually in a medical use coma. And so we'll be getting that $1,200 back. And actually, I had expected it sooner. But it's a wonderful program because it allows us to help get money that are coming to those people. They would pay their bills if they have.
That's good. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up, right?
Yeah.
Anybody got any more questions?
We got any questions?
When's the next meeting?
Right now, the next meeting is probably going to be our first hearing meeting sometime in September, It'll be out in the paper, I can tell you what it is.
We have it set on September 24th.
September 1?
September 24th is
That
what I have down on the calendar.
I had to move the first hearing up because it was the same, oh, I know, it's September 10th. That's the first hearing, and then the adoption is October 4th or something. Next meeting is September 10th. And if you guys all want to continue to come, and the more we can get here, the more you guys are made aware of what the board is trying to accomplish. And if we have to have the fire department here, is it available then?
Yeah, we can make it available.
Yes. Okay, I would love to have you people get a hold of me and let me know if you want to come, so we can decide how big a building that we need for this. We used to have the meetings all down in the trustee's office, and it wasn't even filled up. It worked wonderful, but now that we're trying to do more things and the fire department's getting more involved, there's more interest in it. And we want your guys' feedback on all of it. And we represent the entire Jefferson Township. A lot of people think we just take care of Jefferson outside of Austin. That's not true. We're here for the whole time.
Where do you post it at, Larry? Where's the meetings posted at?
It's supposed to be by Indiana code. It's supposed to be posted in 2 different places.
Okay, so where do you
40 hours
post
ahead
it?
of time. I posted at the town hall and I posted at the trustee's office.
And how far ahead of time?
Like 48 hours.
48 hours, okay.
Okay, guys.
Here's,
Go ahead.
How much are the renovations at Elgin Cemetery cost?
45,000.
45,000. And who is the contractor doing the work?
Stonehuggers out of Nashville, Indiana,
And who is the owner of that? Do you know by chance?
Jefferson Township. Oh, you mean the company, I mean?
Yes.
Helen Gilbert. And they are, I don't know if you do about it, but they just started money.
Yes.
And 50% the board approved 50% of the budget for this year and 50% next year. Old Austin has already been, he's got 3 cemeteries. My job, and the board's job, to get it fixed up. Old Austin has been repaired, and Archville Cemetery, it's on 1100. It's been repaired, so we're down to 1 cemetery.
if anybody wants this letter to the editor, I'm gonna lay them up here. Come up, get you one, I'll take home whatever.
I'm just curious what the
That was the top.
It was the
guidelines.
there was the guidelines and they don't want to discuss them.
I don't,
Sure.
at this time, it's not, we don't.
Thank you.
discuss them yet. It's an internal, we need an internal.
Not going to be discussed. I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I must have went to TFE the last time. Well, how are you? It's been a long time.
I know when you, I kept looking at you. I know that.
I can see.
And then when you smile, it's, oh, that's great. I know, yep. Yeah.
Then I watched you guys.
Where you live?
You're right next to the light.
Yeah, my